Hello and welcome back to the cronecast at the Rising Moon. Hey guys, I have a pick a card for you today. On this channel I do a bunch of pick a cards. Don't forget I have a podcast called Logical Magic Examining Esoterica. I also have a Patreon with Monday through Friday guidance. And there'll be links in the description box down below. But the pick a card today is, what are you being asked to let go of? Remember, the idea is release to receive. And so sometimes we're asked to let go of certain things. Sometimes it's relationships, sometimes it's literal objects, sometimes it really is about the attachment we have to a very specific outcome. And why we're asked to do that is that rigidity is a blocking substance within any form of manifestation. So if you're trying to make good things happen in your life, but you're very, very attached to very specific details around how they're supposed to happen, sometimes we're asked to release that outcome, and that's just an example. So there are 4 piles in a pick a card. Take a moment, see which deck really calls out to you. That is going to be the message that you are most meant to receive. There will be timestamps in the description box down below. There always are. And I will see you at the time of your reading. You're going to have a moment here with the cards, by the way, so just take that moment, breathe in. It's good to close your eyes. Close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out, and then the one that just kind of almost seems like it's stepping towards you or coming towards you is the one that has the message that you are most meant to receive. I'll see you soon. Welcome back. Hey, if you chose pile number 1, this is your reading. We're going to put the number 1 over there so that people can easily fast forward to their reading. But there are always timestamps in the description box down below. So pile number 1, this is what you're being asked to let go of. And again, I won't know the nature of what it's until the reading goes down. I won't know what the nature of the relationship, the object, the outcome, maybe the habit that you have that you're being asked to let go of. Until the reading goes down. And I do not anticipate this being one that people usually aren't thrilled to hear they're being asked to let go of something that they want. So that, I got that. When I was asked to do the reading, I was like, yeah, that's going to be real popular. But this isn't about being popular. This is about helping you on your path towards a better life. So here we go. Let's get going here. Let's bulletproof the messenger while we're at it. Here we go. Let's get going on the Nordic Magical deck. What is pile number 1 being asked to let go of? Depending on what is revealed will depend on what oracle cards I bring into play here. And what you can't see is off screen. We're surrounded by decks. Queen of Cups in the upright. It's a matter of some emotional significance. Now, I'm not an astrological reader. I go by personality traits. Astrology is fantastic. It's just not my particular focus in reading. So even though this can indicate a water sign, which is Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, it's not how I'm seeing it. What I'm seeing is it is a matter of some emotional importance to you. With the Magician in reverse, which is a card of something that may be taking your power, something that is blocking your true power. It may be that you're trying to block your emotions too much, quite frankly. Remember, hey, listen, we got I get in the law of attraction. They tell you always have positive thoughts. I'll only focus on the positive. It is a really good tool to turn your focus towards the positive. That is valid, but you're not meant to be doing it by ignoring your negative emotions. When you have negative emotions, you're supposed to let them go, let them out, express your feelings. Just don't get caught there. Don't let how you're feeling define anything other than the moment. So when you're angry, when you're upset, when you're frustrated, in that particular moment, talk to yourself about why. And I really encourage people to learn how to talk to themselves about it, because particularly people who identify as women have been convinced that we need somebody else to hear us talk about our feelings to feel them validated. And even though that can be great in friendships, it's not always possible, and it can kind of pull friendships off track as well. So it's a really good tool to learn, a really good skill to learn in yourself, is talking to yourself about how you're feeling without the need of another person receiving it, for you to receive it, for you to hear it. And a great tool for that is talking into voice memo, then taking a walk, putting on your earbuds or your headphones, and listening to what you're talking about, because it gets us in touch with that process. Within a therapeutic relationship, half the role of therapy is hearing ourselves as we speak to another person. Even though it helps to have a trained professional on the other side of it, You can actually have that process without a weekly appointment. You can have it as a daily thing. But it does seem like you're trying to block out some emotions here. With the Ten of Wands in reverse, which is releasing things quite literally, and then the Knight of Wands in the upright, which is impulsiveness, it's creation, it's the sacral chakra. Do a little bit of sacral chakra work. Always remember when you do sacral chakra work, you're going to then want to work on your heart chakra and then work on your root chakra as well in the following days. Because the sacral chakra can mess us up a little bit at the first part of release, because it will bring a flow of frustration, sometimes anger, sometimes even with our process and even with our guides. So hey, group number one, like this is an interesting one, but you need to learn to let go of your feelings and how to express them in a productive and in a like helpful fashion with yourself. It is one of the things that has blocked a manifestation for you, because we lose control of it. If we live in an energy where we're always trying to repress our emotions, then they're going to come out eventually when they get too big for us to contain. It is an emotional regulation issue, but it's not a criticism. Remember, these things are part of our formative experience. And particularly if you lived around unpredictable caretakers, people where you never really felt truly emotionally safe because maybe they had a mood regulation issue and they were not good at controlling their feelings, so you never knew which version of the parent you were going to get. People learn to kind of walk on eggshells because of that. And part of that is not showing how they're feeling because they don't know how it's going to be used against them. So if you have this issue, please remember, you're not being told you're broken or you're doing something wrong. It's just that, like, hey, it's an understandable after effect, a byproduct of something that happened to you. And if it's not that situation, although it looks like it is to me, if it's not that situation, then like look for the origin point. Were you bullied in school? Did you have to always hide how you were feeling and not let somebody know that you were being hurt? Because that's another situation that can cause emotional repression. And that's the thing that you're being asked to kind of start learning how to. I'm talking about what I'm angry today, and then I'm going to talk myself about why there's a greater perspective on things and start to see other people's viewpoint and start to understand that even if something is making me honk and mad, there's a lot going on in the world that's really, really, really dreadful. And it's not to dismiss nor shame yourself out of your feelings. It is to help you gain that perspective that will take that anger, that frustration, because it looks like you struggle with like your grief sometimes, with expressing sadness. And then it looks like you also struggle with expressing your temper. And the temper part, it looks like, because maybe you're afraid you're going to lose control of it. And not in a like, and then I will end up in handcuffs way, but rather in a way where it's like, it doesn't feel productive. It doesn't feel like it's a good thing. If you're in a constant dialogue with yourself about understanding your feelings, but then also taking a reasoned approach to them. Like, hey, you're really frustrated because this is worrying you and that is worrying you and this, it feels like there's a ticking clock in the background. It's usually a fear that actually causes that frustration and that anger. That anger is concealing fear, okay? And that doesn't make you a coward. It's normal to be afraid in a scary world sometimes. But the way that we learn how to deal with that is not to control everything around us so that less frightens us, but to have confidence in our ability to meet whatever challenge comes our way. And then we're not afraid of much of anything. Okay, I have the Six of Pentacles in reverse, and there is another issue here. Let's keep going here. I will talk to you about that in just a moment. Three of Wands in the upright, which is like opportunities and all sorts of good things. Six of Pentacles in reverse, and then the Temperance card in the upright, which is patience. It is also alchemy. It is one of the cards of equilibrium and a balanced state. It's one of the cards of healings. As usual, using an infinity spread. I almost always use infinity spreads when I'm doing YouTube reads. I don't use them in personal reads. I use a very extended Celtic cross, which you may have seen on my channel before as well. Coming out with the Nine of Pentacles and then the Strength card in reverse. I'm going to reverse this ever so slightly. The Strength card in reverse and then the Nine of Pentacles in the upright. Sometimes you may have felt like when things happen, you don't have much of a feeling. Like there's almost like an absence there. And it's not that. It's that you got so good at pressing your feelings down that sometimes you have difficulty acknowledging them. And so learning to let go of your feelings, to express them, to talk about them. But unfortunately, there's one other thing here. This is not a criticism. If you grew up having to earn your worth, or trying to placate that reactionary person. And it could have been in a romantic relationship as well, where like the only way to have a happy day around a particular person was to try and please them in some way. Makes us people pleasers. You have a tendency to give too much in relationships, is all this part is saying. Is that other people end up taking your power because you're prone to unbalanced relationships, because you have a really hard time just receiving, saying thank you, and like kind of going on. You feel like you have to do something in equal measure. But the reality is that you give too much in return. And so you're being asked to release, like examine your friendships to see if they're really serving you. Remember, if you decide to back away from a friendship, it does not necessarily mean you block the person, you cut them off, you never talk to them again. You could, as for instance, have a more casual contact with them, like have a more superficial one, so that when they're texting you about their problems, you don't immediately reply with like a sympathetic ear. Like you kind of just let it marinate for a while. You don't do anything with it. It starts to send an important message. In both directions. Like if you're too readily available for another person, then they're going to rely on you. They're going to turn you into a crutch if they too are struggling with their ability to understand themselves. And I need you to like revisit something I said at the very beginning of this, which part of our societal structure has convinced us that as women, if you identify as a woman, I clearly am a woman, that you need another person to hear your feelings, to make you feel better. And you really, 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 really don't. But that is how deeply interwoven into our world the idea of emotional repression is. Women walk around bottling up their feelings, and it's not just women. Men are taught to do that too in a different way. Bottling up our feelings so much that the only way to kind of get them out is to give them to another person. And that like externalizes a process that to have true command of your own power, this Nine of Pentacles, this independence energy. And I know these are marked with the Crowley, the Thoth things, with, you know, gratitude and hope and a couple of other things. I am a Waite-Smith reader. I do incorporate some of the Thoth interpretations, but for the most part, I stick with the Rider-Waite ones and Waite-Smith. And that's what works for me. So you're not being asked to release much of anything here. Nothing material, at least. Let's go ahead and grab our energy deck. And this is going to be like an object lesson. I love this deck. I recommend it for people who are just learning to their own cards. Like I recommend it over the tarot as a beginner thing because they're much easier to read. I recommend only reading them in the upright. I don't find them to retain their meaning in reverse. I do read reversals in tarot though. I had a version of this deck that I had had for literally like, I guess 6-7 years. And, I was asked to not use it any longer and to replace it. And it's a really long process to explain how I'm asked to do things. Magician, attachment, garden in the gate, okay? Do I need to recommend any kind of cut and clear here? Yeah, hey, do yourself a favor, hit the search bar and look for aura cleansers. It's just, there's something hanging on to you. And it's not your fault. It really is not your fault. It appears to maybe be generational, but it's something that holds you back a little bit. It's probably that family situation I was talking about. We repeat things in patterns generationally. Let's see what else we've got. Anything else? The attachment card. Like I could not possibly like, you know, be more on the nose than with this attachment card. And then Jordan Romance. Okay. Indecision, and I want one more on that, Ariel. So Ariel is what is it? It's the sacral chakra, which is what I have been talking about, learning how to release productively, which is in expressing your feelings when they're under your control, seeking to understand them rather than to just feel them. And sometimes you have to just let yourself feel something first. If it's a big thing, in this whole concept of a spiritual journey, it gets hard. It gets hard because we are asked to, like, you know, hey, work with the parts of yourself that you find the most difficult and do it a lot until it becomes second nature. Isn't that fun? It really, it's really, it can kick your butt. It can totally kick your butt. But then you take the steps to align, to ground. Whenever you've had one of these, you need to let your feelings out more in order to have a healthy relationship, is what this is saying. It is an integral part of your ability, or integral part of your ability to form a lasting connection with somebody. It's like if you've been wondering, like, where's my person? What's the holdup? I want the human now. until you master your emotional regulation with your anger and frustration, it will, because it does damage to long-term relationships, even though if that's not indicative of our whole character. And like, I'm going to use myself as an example because that way nobody else feels called out. But I had to let go of a very long-term friendship because my friend, and I mean, it was 20 years, my friend got into a terrible habit of when she was upset, she would be very punishing towards me and very insulting. And I let it go by like the first few times because her life had been so difficult. And by the time like I realized I started to avoid her. And finally I just, told her we had incompatible emotional styles and that like I needed to cut this relationship off. And I did block and unfriend and, like all kinds of things to make sure that she was out of my life. But it was an emotional regulation issue. I know there was more to her than that, but like she got into a terrible pattern and a bad habit of beating up on me when she was upset because I let it happen more than once. And so we do teach people how to treat us. And by the time I was saying like, hey, enough, she was, she had a lot of issues and she needed to be working on it. Her sacral chakra cost her a long-term friendship. Learning how to work with your sacral chakra, even though it's our most volatile one, is the most important thing that we can do. And that does, even though your throat chakra is communication, and part of working with our feelings is being able to express them in a way that we can understand and then, cope with. And like almost sit beside ourselves as the best friend that we're taught that we need to tell these things to. And like act as that person. Be able to inhabit both roles of like the removed person and the person having the feeling. But let yourself have the feeling first, because if you try and shame yourself out of your feelings, they become compounded and repressed. We're using the Earth Magic deck Synergy. Exactly. That's exactly what that is, a synergistic relationship within self. And then we have love, compassion. And then we have winter solstice, which is reflection. Okay? So that is all you're being asked to like participate in releasing is you don't like your temper apparently, or the way that you've expressed it in the past, and you don't like the feeling that comes with frustration, so you try to avoid it. Avoidance is not a coping technique. Avoidance is a ticking time bomb. Avoidance is a fuse. And so we really have to work with it. So indecision. It really is door to romance, indecision, which is a crossroads energy, and then the aerial energy. Get into the habit of it, and it will suck. Like it really could ruin your morning sometimes, but let it ruin your morning rather than control your life because you put so much energy into trying to control it. These are not big ones, pile number one. This is just kind of like, hey, they're trying to give you some hints. What do you need to do next? What's holding you back? And by the way, nothing will block your success more than the still trying to cope with that. Because we live in a day and age, if you lose it on the wrong person, you ruin like years worth of work. Because there are people out there who will make it their life's mission to try and, hurt another person. And the less ammunition that they are given through outbursts or the inability to control things. And please remember, if I can spot something, it's because I'm very familiar with it. And like I spent years and years and years working on the like, hey, how about admitting when we're a little bit mad so that it never gets to the, oh, I did not mean to actually take out that town Godzilla style kind of level. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. You're not being criticized. The things that make you wonderful and vibrant and interesting and captivating for other people, it's all contained in the sacral chakra. But everything has a dark side to it. Everything contains its opposite. And so to have that creativity, to have that spark, to have that ability to manifest, you have to have that fire. But that fire can burn things. Sometimes fire can warm and cook and do all kinds of wonderful things, but fire is one of the most destructive substances there is. So you need to learn to, it's called control burn in the forest industry, forest fire industry. You need to have your controlled burns where you learn how to express your feelings. This is the Messenger Oracle. Seek your destiny. Oh, I love that. There's cat on it. That's one of the markers for intuition. A grounding energy, everything involving trees. The ground after you've had that. Go for a walk, get some exercise. It changes your brain chemistry. It's not about like, hey, everybody has to be particularly fit. It's just, it's good for you. After you've been upset, go for a walk. Move as much as you can. If you have movement limitations, look into something like chair yoga to help with your flow. Movement becomes important because it is one of the things that helps stir our energy and helps release. See yourself in nature. Okie dokie. Well, they really want you to know, and then be honest. Admit your true feelings to yourself. Admit your true feelings to yourself, and sometimes it is going to be about like, hey, this feels like it's been sucking forever. Can it stop sucking, please? Once you admit that that's how you're feeling, like your perspective changes. You get a greater view of things. Let's get the Soul Explorer, or is it the Soul Helper? I think it's the Soul Helper involved in this one. It's one of my favorite decks. If you're looking for your guidance, one of the things that you can do is, obviously get a reading, and I do offer personal readings. Link to my website in the description box down below, which is the only way to book me. Wasn't that a smooth piece of housekeeping? But if you want to try and get in touch with your intuition, get oracle decks first. The tarot represents the subconscious and all kind, it's very complex in its best form. And it's not as illuminating as oracle decks can be in its more simplistic form, which is like how everybody starts out. We have leave your usual social circles behind, seek out true companions. Okay, so I think we mentioned that part already. I think for some people, and it's not going to be true for everybody because it's a general reading and it simply can't be. I think for some people, you're aware that there's a friendship that you feel guilty about releasing it because either the person can be very, like they run hot and cold. Sooner or later, that hot burns so much that it's allowing somebody to injure you, and that is the habit that cannot be present in your romantic relationships. Not that people won't screw up sometimes and hurt us, but then they have to try and correct the behavior rather than, as in the example of my friend who started repeating it at an it was pretty bad by the end. It was really pretty bad by the end. And I felt sorry for her because she had been very, very ill. Your deepest desires constrain you. Let them go to clear your mind, and we want one more on this. And then the lotus within you awakens. You're a master of light on high. So the deepest desires constrain you card is one of the markers for codependency. Please don't overreact to the idea of codependency. Most people are encouraged to be codependent. Talking again about what we're encouraged to do with our feelings. Meaning that you're dependent on another person even to understand yourself. That's in and of itself a form of codependency. But you're being asked to remember that those relationships where because somebody might have done you a solid or sometimes fun, or because you feel sorry for them, or all of the above, and you allow them to sometimes be not very nice to you, that is a form of codependency. We're never supposed to accept abuse. And a lot of the times you can approach somebody and be like, hey, I don't like the way you talk to me. I get it that people get upset, but that's not okay with me. And that gives them the opportunity to be like, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize I was doing that, or I see your point, or whatever it might be to validate your feelings. But you have to be willing to have that conversation. And again, just using and this happened 6 months ago, but to use the example that I've been using, when I tried to talk to my friend about that, she could just attacked me even harder. And so it really was that she'd grown up in an emotionally abusive situation, and so she didn't realize that she was very emotionally abusive when she was upset. But that's not a death sentence. If you learned bad habits, all you have to do is recognize that you've got them and let them go. And so you're being told a little bit in no insulting way whatsoever I think you can see what I'm talking about. You have trouble dealing with your anger because it can be your absolute worst enemy. If you start making it more of your friend and the thing that you check in with, hey, do you need anything right now? What are we supposed to do? What are you feeling? Is that really irking you? It's okay. What's it reminding you of you? What are you afraid of? When you learn how to work with it like that, it starts to be the thing that it's not something you're exerting energy on to control and ignore. And then it gets to turn towards manifestation, for creativity, towards passion, towards joy. So that's why we get asked to do that work. Pile number 1, that was your interesting message. Learn how to release and let go of your anger, your frustration in a way that is productive. And it can't just be because I can be very guilty of this because I'm very active, of going out and running up and down a mountain until I've sweated to the point of exhaustion. And then I don't have the energy to be anything. That doesn't count. And the same thing with hey, if you're one of those people who are I have sex to get rid of that energy, it's still not the expression of the understanding, the logical understanding, because that's what sets us free in the head and the heart battle, is living in between the two. finding that balance. Take care. Be well. That was your reading. You want to book me for a private reading? Link to my website in the description box down below. If you want Monday through Friday daily advice, that is available through my Patreon, which will be linked right above. And don't forget, I have a podcast, Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. Take care. Be well. Welcome back. Hey, if you chose pile number 2, this is your reading. We're going to put the number 2 over there so people can easily fast forward to their readings. But there are timestamps in the description box down below. There literally always are. So we've got the Cosmic Vibrations deck bringing you remember, I don't anticipate this being one that makes people yell yippee. This is your guides trying to help guide you towards greater fulfillment, greater achievement, greater success in telling you what it would help to release, what it would learn to help let go of. And it's not always what you think it is. Like pile number 1 was a very kind of like energetic thing. So I won't know what the nature of this is until we get into this reading a little bit. I have oracle decks all over the place that you cannot see that I will pull them into play depending on the subject. Let's get going here. This is the Cosmic Vibrations. What does pile number 2 need to let go of? I'm using an infinity spread. I almost always do. Hey guys, please don't forget, I have a podcast, Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica, where I give all kinds of healing and magic advice. I have guests on who talk about different healing modalities and different subjects as well. And if you want to book me for a private reading, there's a link to my website in the description box down below. That is the only way to book me. Oh, and please don't forget to do things like subscribe, etc. Hit the thumbs up button if you like it. 10 of Pentacles in the upright. That is a really, really, really good energy. But we're talking about what you are being asked to let go of. So the 10 of Pentacles represents security. We will see where this is going. But it may be in like, stop letting the search for security guide your choices too much. It's not a very safe world. Like, that's not to scare anybody. And in fact, like, I read tarot for a living. Everybody still has a future. Everything's going to be okay. But that if you build your life around seeking safety, there is a contradiction in that it is not truly possible in a world where you can't control everything. Other people have free choice, you know, like an airplane pilot can get drunk one day and crash his Delta into the roof of your house and wipe out everything. And like, that's not what's going to happen. But it's a for instance for that there are too many variables to have safety be our guiding star. With the Knight of Pentacles in the upright, which is the slow and steady progress, okay. The King of Pentacles, apparently, like money, just a wee bit of too much of a focus for you right now. And to examine what that's about, because it's fear-based. It's about trying to find that way to have a shield against the world. With the 5 of Cups in reverse, making the most of a situation after a period of loss is the way that I usually read that. How are you feeling there? Yeah, let's go. 2 of Wands in the upright. That's the crossroads energy. I like this deck for the colors. It really feels very chakra connected to me. Remember, the 2 of Wands is a crossroads energy. It's about making plans and committing to it. Don't let, like I said, this is really saying, please don't let the idea of money or security be your sole guiding star. It comes when it's meant to. It comes when it's meant to. When you're really seeking your purpose, they keep you safe. And part of that safety sometimes is making sure you don't have too much until you're ready to defend it. Because you have to be appropriately guarded when you have more. It's like, and it's a hard balance to strike between exceptionally distant. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, like think about the way movie stars have to live in this world, where they like rarely interact. Like it's a big thing if they're seen in public. They have to like have a very big bubble around them, and like it's impossible to reach them because they have representatives around them. It is because a lot of people come towards them demanding things from them, thinking that they have a form of personal relationship with them because they contributed to that person's success. And so that's the big example. On a smaller level, remember when you have that security that is apparently really guiding you, that you will have to be very astute in your ability to assess people going forward. Just everything that you want actually is coming to you in that area. But like they get that you get very focused and frantic about it. And they also understand that like sometimes life has been pretty painful. So the idea of like, can't you just trust us is difficult. And this is not to make anybody upset. And so please like kind of breathe in, breathe out and understand this is not an accusation. You're not being blamed for anything. but they're always working with our choices. And if you look at the relationships and the situations that cause the most pain, it's usually because of something we chose to focus on and wouldn't let go of. Like, I can see that in my own relationship history. It's like, yeah, that kind of sucked. But the same token, like, I was not my best friend, and I was not my own bestie in the partners that I chose. I chose really difficult people, and then they were really difficult to be with. Because I was raised by really difficult people. We repeat patterns. With the Temperance card in reverse, the only hold up in this area is that you're still healing. And if part of you wants to throw stuff about healing, when you hear that, it's like, oh, what more could there possibly be? The ability to hear that and be like, okay, valid, what am I looking for here? Because that's a healed state. You're not defensive about the need to heal when you're healed. And as the more and more you heal, the less and less you feel like it's something that you have to like be angry about. Instead, like it's something they're actually really trying to help you with. With the Hierophant in the upright, which is it's called the Pope in this particular deck. It used to be called the Pope. It's the card of higher learning. It's the card of mentorship. It's the card of like 12-step programs. It can be the card of traditional marriage as well. Relationships that are based in like trying to find security have a tendency to run out of emotional resonance. And that's not the same thing as needing to leave them, because it's a scary world out there. To step into your own true power, we are supposed to rely on ourselves. But if you're in a relationship where you're like, no, I have 3 kids, I can support them because like whatever, and that's not being dismissive, it's just there's a lot of factors that go into whether or not somebody can make a like an empowering choice. It's great to take that leap of faith, but until you're healed, it's a really slow journey. And so it's better to heal and then figure out what you want to do from there. But they run out of emotional resonance, and so that's why it's very important to do the healing work to get you in touch with emotional resonance that is not dependent on an exterior relationship. With the Six of Pentacles in the upright, which is everything coming out in a balanced state, it's support, it's like it's good give and take, it's receiving, it's really nice. So this is not really a big one, pile number 2. Like, you're not being asked to be like, oh my gosh, leave that person behind, they're toxic. There's nothing like that. But what you are being asked to is to remember that if all of the money and wealth and whatever else you might have been told in cards was coming to you as you pursue a purposeful path, if it's not there yet, it isn't because you have been lied to, and it isn't because your guides are like, enjoy torturing you, or they're not on your best side. It is that revisit what I just said about you have to be able to protect yourself in a way that people seeking security don't really believe they're able to protect themselves. And so if you see that part, it's like, yeah, I guess, like if I have enough for the next couple of years, all I really need is faith in myself that I will be able to figure it out and do what I need to as needs arise. And like, making logical choices is an important thing too. Like take risks that you can absorb the loss on type of thing. And just be prudent in your choices, which is part of temperance. When you really believe that you are the person in charge of your journey, you don't fixate on the am I amassing wealth. You just know that it will come to you. And that whole thing where I do not chase what is meant for me will find me. If you're being told you still need to heal one thing, reacting with frustration is part of what you're trying to heal. Try to receive the healing news of like, hey, someone's actually trying to help connect the wires for me here. But like everything good is happening, and it doesn't look like it's too far along. It's just that you're being reminded you're going to backslide into that. If you lived a frightening life, like particularly if, like I'm always using this example, if you grew up around reactionary people, like we can put our safety, which we didn't have in our emotional world growing up or in relationships or sometimes in social situations, we can put it into an external thing that it's like, well, if I don't have this, I don't have that. At least if I have a pile of money, I will keep myself safe and be able to go to spas while the world burns type of things. And this might be true, but like you'd be worried about the world. It can only go so far in providing your safety and your security. But your being a healed person would bring you all the success that you ever need. It is part of a process. This is one of the cards of like a higher learning energy. When you make the decisions to heal inside, which is the Temperance in reverse is a need to heal, you'll be able to master something. This is the card of mastering something in terms of learning the emotional lessons, the ones that have to do with spirit. The Eight of Pentacles is more 3D energy for mastering something. The Hierophant is the one of mastering the spiritual goals, because, you know, the Hierophant, again, it used to be called the Pope or the Priest. Six of Pentacles in the upright is one of the best energies that there is. So just kind of keep going. But you really are being asked to examine your relationship to the idea of money providing safety. And to know that money is nice, and it can provide luxury, and it can provide lovely experience, and it can provide beautiful surroundings, but it won't actually keep you safe in an emotional capacity, because it can't buy peace. That's what healing does. Healing provides us with peace. We have Judgment in reverse. Okay, new karmic cycles beginning, and then the Ten of Wands in the upright. Okay. All right, I'm going to do this. Ten of Wands is just trying too hard. It's just trying too hard sometimes. The other thing that you may be being warned about, because the Hierophant, the Pope card, is the card for Tauruses, and like I am a Taurus, and every workaholic I've ever known is a Taurus. It's hilarious to me that like you either turn in one direction or the other as a Taurus. Like you don't like to do a lot of stuff and it's really hard to get motivated, or Tauruses like never let themselves sit down. But it's not particular to Tauruses. And that is the other part, is that they have been struggling with teaching you how to have a measured pace, because they have been very reticent to give you and reluctant to give you the security that you keep, you know, saying, sometimes even like demanding, because you know you deserve it. They've been reluctant to provide it for you because you will beat yourself up trying to get that security. Like you'll start making bargains with yourself about how much you need to sleep and how much you need to eat and how much time off you need. And that they won't support that. It's literally not their job. Their job is to help with your emotional and your spiritual balance. So that's why we need to seek it. That's why we need to seek it. So let go of the need for money for the sake of safety. Focus on your healing, and the rest comes. Yin Yang, going with the flow. It's also a card of what? Emotional balance. 1, 2, 3, and 4. What else have we got here? What have we got? This is the brand new energy deck I've been using. The thing I was recently asked to let go of was a deck that I actually had sort of an emotional attachment to, because I use it every single day, and it was this one. I've had this deck, this brand new deck. This is its maiden voyage, sitting downstairs for 2 years. With a man holding a coin, that is a good card of business. It is also an echo of the King of Pentacles. What else have we got here? Storm warning. It's change. Victory. Well, that's a beautiful energy. All right, so just kind of what you need to hear is there's like a good change coming in your life, but that if you're wondering, because like I read for people who, like, you know, sometimes I've been to other readers, sometimes they've watched pick a card, sometimes they're using their own intuition. And, you know, they've been assured they're going to succeed. Your success is guaranteed. You will succeed. You will succeed. And then they get along in the process and they're like, where in the heck is everything? This is taking levels of long. This is taking an eternity. Listen to the healing advice. If you're still focusing on, do I have success? It may be that you're not pursuing particularly a spiritual calling for something that will keep it safe from attachments. Because that's why we're not meant to focus on money in spiritual communities, is that there are attachments that will come along and they can influence people. There's a very famous reader, Doreen Virtue. She produced the Angel Answers and the Romance Angels, and like everybody knows her. And she now claims we're all talking to demons. And guess what? It's because she accidentally started talking to an attachment, because she became very focused on how much more money she could make. And she had this great big house in Ocean County, and I'm not slamming her. I'm just saying there's peril. There's peril in this particular land, because those things that can try and influence you, they can really make it seem like they're your besties, because they tell you everything you want to hear. Your real guides will tell you stuff you don't want to hear sometimes. The stuff you need to work on. Not just that you're going to be great and successful and, you know, have the love of your life. They'll be like, hey, this is an area of your shadow side that you need to look at. And the one that you're being asked to look at right now is like, hey, listen, everything's still coming. But you ask what the holdup is over and over again, and the holdup is that you're very focused on it, and you don't realize how much that can turn around and bite you in the butt in this particular realm as well. And in other ones, because then we start doing things motivated by the need for more money. Because when you think money, a big pile of money or security will provide your safety, and you realize you still don't feel safe, you turn too much attention towards making more and more and more of it. And then your quality of life is gone, and you're under the influence of this like need-based thing where you need an ever-increasing number when you think it's money that will provide your safety. And money will come to you when you're like, yeah, no, I'm good, I can figure it out. Even if I have, I'm living in a shabby place right now, I know that I'm gonna have much better, and that I just need to keep going, and that the best way to get to the promised land is to do the work I'm being asked to do. This is not a criticism of me. Like, everybody's got their stuff. Re-energize in the natural world, which is actually one of the cards for working less. Let your inner huntress take rest. You don't have good pacing because you're chasing something. It's not a criticism. It's just to learn to be in flow by relaxing and have a robust dialogue with yourself around exactly that. Is that I believe in myself. Whatever challenge comes to me, I'm going to make myself so healed that it might upset me very briefly, but I will let it go very easily. I believe in my abilities. I believe in myself. There is not any problem. When I need an answer, it will come to me. I am not alone in this. A new strategy is required. Find the path to love and happiness. That is the other thing. Whatever has gone on in your life, whatever may have harmed you, because unfortunately it can be a really tough world. Turning your back on connection, on family, on friends, on the idea of love, so that you can focus on business. It will not give happiness because it doesn't know how to give back in anything other than money. And it's an empty construct, and it only really represents the earth element. And to have true emotional balance, we need that fire, which is enthusiasm, inspiration, joy. We need water, which is one of the things for our emotional flow. The thing that actually gives us the ability to flow with the moment in and out. Then we need air, which is the ability to communicate and to reason things out. And also to rest and to pause. So that's why money, is for the sake of it, just it won't do what people think it will. And we have an entire world that tries to tell you otherwise. And like, if you look at the world around us, it's like pretty obviously it does not solve anything. And it turns people very hard-hearted because they've cut off their access to emotion. We have fog, veiled, very interesting. Oh, wow, okay. Hey, listen, if you keep getting readings to find out when things are going to happen and like the times never come, that actually is something that they will start obscuring that when you focus on it too much. Ask about what you need to heal to succeed. Not when's this going to happen, when's that going to happen. Ask what you're working with. Power. And then these guys came out, fire, passion, and autumnal equinox, which is release. By the way, anything having to do with the autumn is a secure thing because, like, hey, squirrels storing up nuts to survive the winter type of thing. Lightning power. Your inspirations will come to you when they are meant to. If you are being denied your answers, and like some of you are going to be very powerful psychics in your own right, if you're like, I can't figure this out to save my life, where's my guidance? Focus on what you're healing. Focus on what you need to heal, and it will bring what you want to you. Stop focusing on the chain of events, because that's not the point of your journey. The point of your journey is connecting to your spiritual self, and your spiritual self does not reside in money. Money is a tool. It is not the end goal. Money is the thing that makes things possible. Amassing it for the sake of like piles of it, again, puts too much focus on the earthly and not enough on the spiritual. And so that particularly for healers, if you're saying, I've been promised so much, I was told my success was guaranteed, you got to heal first, because they will not participate in helping to harm us. And are there spirit attachments out there that will try to guide you? Of course, because they want the return of that energy. How do you know the difference? You work with cleared energy, you align before you reach out, you make sure you're shielding, you make sure you do some protective practices. And you make sure that you do things that are grounding as well. In almost every podcast wherever I talk about magic, I talk about protective practices and how to ground. And so I'm not going to go into it here. But that's on, spoiler alert, way to advertise. Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. I literally just put one up for Spring Magic. So it is, I think, the last podcast that I put up. If it's not, it's very, very close by because I don't know when I'll release this. I'm going to do one last thing for you, and I'm going to get the angel answer card. What is there anything else you want pile number 2 to know? Because like this is going to upset you, like to be like that. Don't I deserve answers? You deserve to feel better. You deserve to have a happy emotional world. You deserve that heart of yours to experience love and joy and flow and connection. And you're trying to turn it off and be practical when it comes to money. And you think it's like, when I'm able to travel, when I'm able to go, I will be happy, 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 happy. Only until the newness of being able to do those things wears off. It would be temporary. And they're trying to help you achieve something permanent. Improving health, you gotta heal. And then in the near future. Listen to this advice and know that it is kindly meant. And whenever I say you have to do anything, you don't have to do anything. But remember, I'm talking to your guides. The guides are the people who will see this, bring these messages, and there are people in collectives. And I have a healers collective, and I have an educators collective, and I have a therapist collective. And you are never being told that how you feel is unimportant. You're being told if you heal, you'll feel better. And that is why we make everything so dependent on healing. Plus, as healers, we can only heal to the extent that we are healed. And so it is actually the very thing that will make you more successful, okay? File number 2, that was your, oh, look, 2 went to hide. But that was your message. If you need to book me for a private reading, @therisingmoon.com is the only way to book me. It is linked in the description box down below. Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. And I have a Patreon. Monday through Friday, spiritual advice is the Spirit Guide Daily. And that is going to be linked up above. Take care. Be well. Welcome back. Hey, if you chose pile number 3, this is your reading. We're putting number 3 over there. So people can easily fast forward to their readings. There are always timestamps in the description box down below. This is the traditional manga deck. It's going to be the one bringing you the predictive cards, working with an infinity spread. I almost always work with an infinity spread for these YouTube reads. So we're talking about what you're being asked to release, what you're being asked to let go of. Remember the whole release to receive thing. But it's also a release to align sometimes, because sometimes we're holding on to things and pulling ourselves off balance without realizing it. It's not likely to be a super popular message, and anything that you're advised to do, remember, you never have to do anything. It's just that your guides are trying to give you the answers you've been asking for. And they can't just tell us how to get what we want, because a lot of times we're using what we want to avoid what we need to do. And it's not a criticism, it's part of the human condition. We literally all do it. Let's go. All right, so before I get started, guys, please don't forget to subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button. It does help my channel. I have a podcast, Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica, and if you need to book me for a private reading, there's a link to my website in the description box down below. That's the only way to book me. That's @therisingmoon.com. We have the Chariot in reverse. Weird. Closure. With the Death card in the upright, New Beginnings. Oh. With the Justice card in reverse, which is an unbalanced situation, I cannot help but notice that you are coming out of the gate with 3 major arcana, which is about faithful forces at work. The 4 of Cups in the upright, which is, like, that's one of the cards for luxury, and one of the cards for, like, receiving. It's just that it doesn't feel that way. It's one of the, it can be like the meh card, the discontent, the, like, looking inward, like a little bit of a focusing on something other than the positive. But in the background here, this cup is coming in around this figure. As this person looks at these cards with a feeling of like, there is this hand coming in the background to offer a gift. And it is actually what is wanted. So, that's why I'm stalling, because it's about closure and about how you have to choose it rather than wait for it. Sometimes there is no apology coming. Sometimes there is no, like, hey, I think I made a mistake and maybe this person will come back. Sometimes someone who's not in contact will not be in contact again. And rather than waiting for an understanding or waiting for that closure, we have to choose to recognize that. And that is, there is something in your life where you've been hoping for closure, and like they're telling you, choose the closure, decide that it ends here, let go of the need for anything more to happen in it. More will start happening in your life. A lot of your energy has gone towards trying to figure out an old situation. And the Chariot card in the upright, the reason I said weird, is the Chariot card in the upright always depicts two horses being, well, usually, depicts two horses facing in different directions. It is a card of being pulled in two different directions. When we get it in reverse like that, it can be something coming to an end, but it can also quite simply be the choice that we make. When something dies, death in the upright, it's the Scorpio card, but it's not, it's the card of new beginnings. Until we let go of that which is done, until we close the book that we've been writing, maybe, and, you know, decide the end, the conclusion, it's hard for the new story to begin. And that's all. And it is really hard to choose. It really is hard to choose, because you have to remind yourself the ability to make that choice lies in awareness. But everything like you're hoping for is coming to you. It kind of looks to me like it was a very, very unfair situation, that like maybe like even like you got done dirty by like somebody that you trusted, and you keep waiting for there to be more to the story, that type of thing. It's not going to hold true for everybody. It's a general reading. It can't. What else have we got going on here? The Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Okay, that's letting something go. Knight of Wands in reverse, which can be frustration, anger. This is difficult, but one of the things we have to accept is that our idea of fair is not necessarily the divine's idea of fair. And like, don't overreact there, because the divine tries to be very fair. Whenever we lose something, it will try and bring us something to replace that in a different way, and it's our choice what we do with it. For instance, and this is not calling anybody out, like this is literally something I'm making up on the spot to try and illustrate the point. Let's say you were in a 13-year relationship, and it ended badly, and that person, like, you know, cleaned out your accounts and disappeared, and like it took you 6 months to like get any word out of them, and by then they had spent all the money or hidden it, that kind of thing. And you keep waiting to be like, what happened? What, were you always this person? You owe me an apology, you owe me an explanation. And by the way, divine, that is not fair. That was wrong. That person stole my life savings. And the divine will say, you're very attached to the idea of your money being about you, and rather than a tool that you're using. And that if you let go, we're going to give you the opportunity to get all that money back. We'll give you the choices that you can then, the path that you can follow to things being made whole. But it's not going to come in the form of the person being thrown behind bars, because they have a different fate. And as long as you're very attached to that outcome, it holds you back from the next part of your story. Is like, put the end on that. Understand that crappy things happen to good people, and that it's not because nothing cares, it's because sometimes there are other people make crappy choices that impact us, and it's a difficult world. It's never to be dismissive to somebody's pain. Your pain matters to your guides so much. They kind of don't get emotions at the same level. It's complicated. They haven't been alive for a while when they have been human. So they don't get how horrible the moment to moment can feel. But they're asking you to understand that the path out of that is to just choose to let it go. Be like, yeah, well, it wasn't about me. A person just has missing pieces, and I didn't see it because I'm a good person. And that's what the answer always is. If you're like, but I thought you were a great person, and they turn out to be a crappy one, it's usually because you're a really good person and you have difficulty seeing darker aspects in people. And people take advantage of that. So that was entirely a hope, fictitious, like, you know, the 13-year relationship, something to get your bank account cleaned out. But it's the example to understand that our fixation on, I need to see that person be called to account. I need to see the karma. I need to see what happens to them in order for me to go on my journey. That is still defining your life by that particular set of circumstances in that relationship, rather than learning the lesson of like, okay, what red flags, what pink flags, what things was I ignoring? What things were I explaining away? Because that's where the benefit of the doubt has a tendency to bite people in the butt. With the, what are you? 8 of Pentacles in reverse. Interesting. Relaxing as well. 6 of Cups in reverse. It really is about a past relationship. Wow. Oh. So, having said the whole, like, it's not going to come, the closure won't come to you in the way that you were kind of hoping. Like the, you know, the I realize what I've done, I realize who you were, I never should have treated you that way. But like your guides, what they just are like, you can probably relax because it's not working out so well for them. And it's not going to. It's not going to. Anything that they have, they will lose because they took what didn't belong to them. And that is one of the karmic, like the ways to balance that justice. So if sometimes you hear about them and it's like they seem like they have everything, it won't last long. That scale is being balanced. It's just not for your benefit. For your benefit, they want to bring things that will help you not focus on that any longer. And until you let go of this past situation, they can't do that very easily. And you're not being criticized. You're being told you're super loved. And that situation, that one where somebody misused you or lied to you or misrepresented who they were because they were working an agenda, my goodness, that person doesn't deserve one moment of your thought, let alone the focus of your energy. And we will all occasionally trust the wrong people. And that's all that happened there. But that, like, don't think that they got away with it. Don't think that they got away with it. I've had this type of message before, and one of the meanings of this as well is literal Cancer. Because the Chariot in the upright is the card for the astrological sign Cancer. And don't like get too literal with that. I'm not saying, hey, they have Cancer. I'm just saying that their life has a form of it. That like when they did a disease thing, it diseased their energy. If you don't see the evidence of it, you don't know how they feel. You only know how things look. So you're being asked to choose closure. You're being asked to let go of an unfair situation, even though it's very difficult and it's galling because it's like, aren't I a good enough person to deserve justice? You're looking for justice in only a very particular way. It's being attached to a very particular outcome. They want to bring you justice in, wouldn't it be fun that when everything great starts happening for you and you look better and better and you are happier and happier and you end up maybe even with the person of your dreams, that you know that that person has to see you? That like they're over there having to kick themselves being like, oh, what did I do? As they're like apparently experiencing all kinds of blowback. All right, I have the 4 swords in the upright, which is meditation, letting something rest. Knight of Pentacles in the upright, which is routine. I have a tool for helping you choose closure. Whenever you start thinking about it, you remind yourself, no, I'm choosing closure. I'm letting that go. That person does not deserve my energy. They took enough from me already. I'm not going to give them my thoughts, my energy, my emotions. I'm going to go on with my life. I'm going to create my happy-ass world, and they're going to have to watch me do it, and that's going to be the justice. And sometimes, don't define justice by our legal system. Don't define justice by what you can see. Understand that this entire time, your guides have been very focused on bringing you justice. You just want to see it from them, and they may not be actually capable as a human being. They may have something wrong with their conscience. People who do reprehensible things usually do. There we go. Fire Ox, a beacon of light. I like that. Earth Dog, reconnect with ancestral love. They do love you. They do want you to know. Whenever you need to connect, go out into nature, get a little bit of exercise, and kind of don't be afraid to, like, you know, in your head or out loud, because, like, seriously, take out your phone. Nobody knows you're not talking to, like, a person on the phone. You can try and connect with your ancestors. They're always there. They always love you. And if you get to the point where you're like, y'all suck because look how badly you broke me, they know that part. They know that part. It's part of the reason that they stick around trying to give you so much help, is they know they bear some responsibility for the things that you now have to carry. They don't ever resent it. But, like, so that you feel better, try to approach them as friends. Metal Dog, simplify your life. Simplicity, finding happiness in small routines, finding happiness in self-care, finding happiness in doing the healthy things. This is what helps with these situations. It just does. And I know it's actually really, really, really hard to have been on the receiving end of terrible treatment and to not have anybody ever be like, are you sorry? You do not appear to be sorry at all. Because they may have something really wrong with them. And that, like, if you spend your life wondering why you ended up with that person, because they knew how to pretend to be somebody that you would like, because they've got something wrong with them. Which is, you know, we might be talking about narcissistic abuser. I'm not positive. I don't have the figure on that. They don't want you thinking about it any longer. Don't let a bad person in your life define your life. Heal. Thrive. Let it go. Every time it comes up in your mind, say, I'm not thinking about that. I'm going to distract myself. I'm going to listen to some music. I'm going to take a walk. And I'm going to tell myself in my head, no, I'm not thinking about that any longer. I wasted enough time on that person. May they get true justice in their life, and my justice is going to be living happily and joyfully. Dreamtime, creation, and then fairies, earth magic. Earth magic is a grounding element. I'm almost really encouraging people, like, listen, sometimes if you think you're summoning fairies, you are summoning things that do not play by human rules because they are not human. And to be very, 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 very careful. I have long since had to accept that I have worked with fairies because of how much time I spent in the woods as a child. Like trying to connect to, well, it's a long story. It's a long story, but like I get that I'm related to elemental magic involving what could be considered fairies. But I encourage people not to tangle with them unless you fully understand them. I think I got really lucky in what happened to me. Is that, like, it's almost like the thing that I've been in contact with, like, views it like, you know, dog guardianship, but like in the best possible way, where it's like, I have a responsibility to this creature's emotional well-being. But most of them don't. Most of them don't. It has to do with their level of curiosity about our emotional construction. Having said that, earth magic holds a place because it is grounding. It helps things represent in the 3D. Whenever you are thinking about something that isn't in the here and the now, grounding helps. It can be eating, it can be cooking, it can be cleaning, it can be exercising, it can be watching something you really enjoy. It can be playing a mind game app that draws your focus. Get your focus back into the 3D when you can't stop thinking about the past. We have to let go of the past to go and live in the future. And nothing's going to fix whatever is on the other side of this. Nothing, like, it won't ever make you feel better in the way that you would hope it would, because it wouldn't have authenticity behind it. Follow your vision. Never lose sight of what is really important. What is really important is moving beyond this, and it is the hardest thing in the world to choose closure when, like, you've been wronged. It really, really is. Because that justice card in reverse, you know, you were wronged. But it is the thing that keeps things from you sometimes, because you're looking backwards and it's hard for a car to make much progress on a road when you're looking over your shoulder. All right, nature is calling you. Well, they really want you to ground. I'm very used to that as a message. It can be a little bit of a broken record thing. Why is it important? Because it pulls you out of the ruminating place. When we are having difficulty letting go of past events, and they are intruding into the future too much, it is halting your progress, because again, it's almost like momentum. You're looking backwards too much, and so going forward's really difficult. You have to get the ball rolling in the better direction. And you know, sometimes that's by cutting the anchor that the past can be. Is understanding that it's like, well, okay, that did happen, and what did I learn from it? Because that's the important part. The important part is learning lessons around, like, not ignoring red flags to have people in our lives. Because loneliness can do that. It can do it in any area. It can be friendships, it can be a romantic relationship. I'll tell you honestly, they're not telling me a lot about what the nature of this, like, you need to choose closure in this. In some instances, it could be a parent that you need to go no contact with. When somebody won't change, when somebody won't give you what you deserve, when somebody will not acknowledge that, like, doing that was wrong, they don't deserve a place at your table. The maiden in your relationship blossoms. The Harlequin, true feelings are masked. Interesting. What else do we got here? I just want one more on this, because that's the first indication of, like, there is also, like, it's keeping the thing you want from you. Like, if you've really hoped that, like, let's use the example of, like, somebody getting their heart broken, which I've got a little bit of that energy here. You can't go to another relationship to make you feel better because that's a painkiller rather than healing something. Having said that, until we choose to let go of, like, that bad thing happened, but it does not define me, an entirely new, different way of being can't come in yet because we're still attached to the old one. The key, locked doors can now be open. The Knight, triumph over adversity. Let it go and you will move forward. Let it go and, like, there's a bright future ahead of you. Meditation will help you as well, but there's a lot of grounding thing. And by the way, this is literally saying a meditative practice in some ways to read that. There's another way to read it as well, which is like, pause, reflect, have a routine around how to control that thought process, which is, again, the routine card, the, slow and steady progress of the Knight of Coins, the Knight of Pentacles. If you're really struggling with it, because it can be hard, there really is a spirit attachment that goes with trying to get our focus to remain, like, in a way that doesn't allow us to move forward. It's almost like being caught in a spider's web, quite frankly. Is honest to goodness taking control of it, controlling the narrative in the way that it's like, yeah, I just started thinking about something from the past, something that is concluded, something over which I have no control. I understand it at a logical level, and sometimes it still has an emotional pull over me because it really, really hurt. But whenever I feel that, I'm going to acknowledge it as a feeling that I'm entitled to, but also as one that is not going to help me in going forward. I release the past so I can move into the future. I'll live in the present. Whenever the past comes up, I will see if it's trying to teach me something, and if it's not, then I need to let it go. But if I'm looking at it to fulfill a want or a need, that's a sign to let go. That's not what the past does. The past teaches us. The past teaches us. It helps us understand ourselves, our choices, the ways in which, like, particularly to have better relationships with other people, we have to learn from, like, well, where did I make a mistake? Even this person victimized me. It's like, what happened? How did I accidentally, through my own habits, contribute to them being able to get away with it? Because if it went wrong for a long time, one of the things that I frequently see in, because unfortunately I've read for people who were legitimately meant con artists, and it was that they felt they had a responsibility to solve the other person's problem. That, like, if they had a problem and it's like that was just kind of it. And that only belongs in long-term relationships where you're a participant, but you're never the sole, like, it's not your role to solve another person's problem. And even though it makes you feel good and helpful and valuable to that person, if they only value you for the ways in which you can solve their problems, then, like, sooner or later they're going to come up with some form of unhappiness that you can't solve for them because you can't fix them. Partners aren't projects, and that's why we have to not problem solve for our friends and for our, like, you can make a suggestion and then let it drop. But, like, it's honest to goodness, like, that's one of the ways that, using myself as an example, I have good solutions for people. And for a period of my life, all of my friendships were about people bringing me their problems. It was exhausting. And I was really good at it, but it's part of the reason that I do it as a profession now, because it turned all of my friendships into lopsided. I was their, kind of amateur therapist. And that didn't leave a lot for me. Release your creative energies and re-energize in the natural world. Oh, I already got two of these. They really want you to know that part. They really want you to know that part. They want you out in the natural world. And yes, there are cards in that deck that have nothing to do with the natural world. On this pile, I'm going to go ahead and close out with the Infinity Oracle. Is there anything else? What you're being asked to let go of is, like, looking for a conclusion from a past energy. It's past. It's done. Does that mean nothing will ever happen with it in the future? Try not to care, and you will be letting go of it. Let go of the need for closure that comes from anything other than the closure that you're choosing. And your life will start opening up in really good ways. Closure. So, closure. Isolation. Speak your truth. And then autumn, which is security, and then eternal love, etc. Crossroads with celebration. Okay. I do not mind any of this. Autumn stands for security. Eternal love can be attachments, by the way. Crossroads and celebration are all pretty, like, make the choice. Make the choice to move ahead joyfully. But closure, isolation, speak your truth. Admit the truth to yourself. It is time to choose closure. It's isolation means it's not going to come from anybody other than you. And again, like when I got told to do this reading, I was like, oh, aren't I going to be popular? But I don't do this to be popular. It's to try and connect you with, if you're like, what will help, what will help, what will help? Your guides are trying to tell you. And sometimes it's the information that it's like, that's going to be hard and painful, and it wasn't what I wanted. It's the thing that will help, is what they're saying. You always have free will. You can always, that crossroads energy, you can always choose. You can always choose. But you're asking, like, about closure, or like what you're being asked to let go of. And it's the attachment to something that has already passed, and to close the book and to go and write the next one. Okay? That was your reading pile number 3. You want to book me for a private reading? There is a link to my website in the description box down below. It's the only way to book me. I have a podcast called Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. And then I have a Patreon as well, where I give daily advice Monday through Friday via the tarot. And that'll be linked right up above. Hope you're able to join. Take care. Be well. Welcome back. Hey, if you chose pile number 4, this is your reading. We're putting the number 4 over there so that people can easily fast forward to their reading. But there are timestamps in the description box down below. There always are. Let's get going here, talking about what you're being asked to release, what you're being asked to let go of. Remember, the whole concept is release to receive. I'm really aware that this might be information that isn't going to be too popular, because nobody likes to be told to let go of something they might want or are focusing on. But it's a guide message, and it's not being done for popularity. It's being done to try and help people heal. So let's get going here. What do we got for pile number 4? Hey, before I get started, please don't forget to do things like subscribe and hit that thumbs up button, because it helps my channel. And then I have a podcast called Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. And if you want to book me for a private reading, at therisingmoon.com is the only way to do so. Judgment in the upright, the card of the Archangel Gabriel. It is the card of enlightenment. It is also awakening, assessment, and acceptance, according to this one. I actually really like this deck quite a bit, because that is all true. Acceptance, allowance as well. It's the card of life's purpose as well. 10 of Cups in the upright. Oh, okay. That's fulfillment, happiness, family. It is prosperity as well. It is a very positive card. It's partners. It comes out with the King of Pentacles in reverse, which can be a spirit attachment. It can be depression. Okay. With the 9 of Cups in reverse, which is sometimes a disappointment as well. So this is what you're being asked to release. Watch caretaking around your family members, please. Honest to goodness, remember, one of the most healing things people can do is gain the confidence in their ability to solve their own problems and deal with their own things. The King of Pentacles in reverse is an interesting one, because in reverse, it doesn't, in the upright, it can be success. Remember, the court cards represent an energy, not necessarily a figure. Sometimes a figure, but it depends on the nature of the reading and what's surrounding them. In this particular reading, one of the things it's talking about is a genetic predisposition towards depression, and to make sure that you're kind of tending to that. You're being asked to release some patterns in your family and to examine your generational trauma in terms of how you were taught to view the world. Sometimes when we grow up with anxious caretakers, or people who have chronic depression, or major depressive disorder, sometimes we learn a really pessimistic viewpoint, and sometimes people think cynicism is safer than hope, because there's no disappointment in cynicism. It also jades your view in terms of what you think is possible, and you will feel better day to day if you are willing to strike that balance between having a good eye for your safety and things like internet settings and dating settings and work settings, but to allow yourself to assume that things are going to work out just fine. And that even when there are rough periods, it's it'll smooth out. The sun will come back up. You have a family tradition almost of but this could go wrong and that could go wrong. If it ends with a question mark, it is not your intuition, it is your anxiety. It can also be your depression. There's an almost addictive quality to depressive cycles. It's hard to change that energy. But they are asking you to do some release around your root chakra. Follow up with things like energetic shields, and like just hit YouTube and look for things like attachment removals. Go towards the source that you're guided towards. Whenever I have a personal reading with somebody, I will provide them with the things that appear to be right for them within the reading. But when it comes to advice that you're receiving in a pick a card, remember, like, your guides got you here in the first place. Trust them to like bring to you what they think is going to help. So go to the search bar and look for that, and like look for how to heal my heart root chakra, chakra balancing recordings, anything that will start bringing you into a better balance, because you need to be able to let go of funky moods a little bit more easily by like taking energetic steps there. Meaning that like they're asking you to participate in like preserving your happiness. It's not a criticism, they're trying to give you a tool. We have the High Priestess in reverse, which is clarity. Whoa, that's 2 cards of things being brought to light. Interesting. With the Hermit in reverse, coming out of one's shell, emerging from a period of isolation. I have the 9 of Wands in reverse. That can be like the battles we know not to engage in. It can also be letting things go. It's also the ability just to relax about something, with the Strength card in the upright as well. We're going to go over here and we're just going to flip our other outcome cards immediately. Page of Wands in reverse, with the Tower in the upright. That took a turn. Why? Well, it changes everything. And okay. All right. So, hey, listen, this is going to be particular to some people. If you struggle sometimes with anger, it's actually your depression. Anger is usually protecting fear or sadness, and grief, like the things that make us feel too vulnerable to express, and so it comes out as anger. But you're being asked to engage in some pretty like mood because this is about emotional happiness. Like, go be pretty proactive in pursuing emotional regulation techniques. Your sacral chakra is a little bit messed up. They would like you working on that as well. So whenever you work on your sacral chakra and you have that depressive energy, again, I do as well. It's a genetic predisposition thing. I don't take meds for it. I do work with just personal management. But like part of the way I can spot something is that all readers have to have an affinity. They have to be able to have an understanding of what they're seeing. So whenever I'm talking about something, please don't feel called out, because it's like the reason you can spot it if you got it type of thing. But they are asking you to work a little bit on your sacral chakra. And because of a couple of things, they kind of want you to know that when you work on your sacral chakra, you need to work on your solar plexus, your sacral, and your root chakra all at once. But it'll bring about a change in your ability to feel happy again, like to feel like there's a point to things again. If things have been feeling a little bit pointless of late, they're not. There are peaks and valleys in life, and recognizing, oh my goodness, I'm standing in the valley, how do I start climbing the mountain, is what they're talking about. Is be a little proactive in it. Oh, attachment, okay. What do we got? What's the attachment on? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they want you doing stuff like attachment removals as well. Remember, whenever we get this kind of depressive, this draining energy on something, attachments are like, it's hard because people react defensively to the idea that they have an attachment. It's like, do you ever encounter other people? Because their stuff can get on you. It's the same thing as like, just being in an environment and things like being attracted to you. Same thing as like germs. It exists as an energetic being in another dimension. It's not about like you're weak. It is that sometimes you're exposed to things. Every now and then I will have a guest on the podcast, or I will read somebody who is the mother of all attachments, and I can feel it and I have to take steps to get rid of it afterwards. But there are lower level ones that are just kind of like these things that feed off of us. So you like take steps towards, how do I disrupt that energy? Attachment removals can work. Also, like all forms of healthy practices, emotional regulation techniques can help as well. Door to Spirit, interesting. Ooh, did it come from readings? Appreciation. Healer of the Ages. We want one more on that. Goddess of the Moon. If you're wondering how you keep encountering them, it's through this. I have to clear between every single pile. When I get done here, I will have to clear the whole room. I'll have to clear my entire body later. When I reach into a group's collective energy, whatever is on them is like, oh, you look like a tasty snack, and it will try and get towards me. I have to take so many protective measures to make sure that other people's stuff doesn't come through the other area. And one of the ways that I do that is I invoke the Archangel Metatron and the Holy Spirit in order to protect my my psychic eye, to make sure that like it's minimal amounts of damage. But I'm dealing with eternal forces, and I don't kid myself that I'm stronger than they are. They literally can't die. They are stronger than me. they can't die. I'm very much immortal. And do I have a soul that is divine? Absolutely. But like this physical body is the thing that feels the drain from it. So we have to take protective steps on that. So you are being asked to remove some attachments. It really does make you a little bit sad. Crystals, focus. Oh, interesting. They want you focusing with crystals. Amethyst will help the most to protect your psychic eye. What you cannot see is another protective practice that I have is on all four corners of my desk. I have an amethyst, I have a selenite, and I have a black obsidian. I also have protective jewelry on. If you meet me in person, I do not wear jewelry. Like if you like encounter me out shopping or something, you're gonna be like, where are all her rings? I do not wear rings in public. These are silver rings that are enchanted to protect me as much as humanly possible. And I do incantations around protecting myself as well. You need to do a little bit of protective work if you're looking into this realm. It can mess with the outcomes you get. Like if you've gotten readings and they didn't come true, even though they were like making you really happy to get them, and I mean through YouTube, remember an attachment will try and produce a chemical within your brain so it can feed off of it. Fire, passion, interesting. Boy, this is a passion card as well. Focus, passion. I'm gonna keep going here. With compassion, love, compassion. Oh, that's a balanced energy. I'm not seeing anything that's bothering me there. It's just, expression of your feelings is going to be important as well, but managing them is a little bit, like fire is about action as well. The only thing that you're being asked to release is you're actually literally being asked to do some attachment removals. In order to, like, you may have picked something up watching readings, you may look in cards yourself. Unless you're doing, like, you really go deep on it, like, attachments are out there. It really is just like germs. Let's keep going here. This is not bad, but you have a genetic predisposition towards depression that is one of the things that causes them to be attracted. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It can, like I said, depression is as likely to manifest as anger as it is almost anything, by the way. 1, 2, 3. Develop a new interest. That is one of the things, and keep trying till it takes root. Just keep trying. Keep reaching for it. Like, hey, maybe I will go on Duolingo and see if I want to learn Portuguese. Maybe I will, like one of the interest I developed is hiking. I've been talking kind of a lot about it. That happened because I kept having to walk after work to get, one of the ways to ground, to restore my balance. You can do literal things to restore your balance. And I was getting bored because it just didn't do a lot for me. It was like walking for an hour and a half. And I was driving past a trailhead. And I was like, oh, that's a trailhead. I should check that out. Fast forward 4 months later, like I'm doing 10-mile hikes that are considered like, hard or expert level. I need to back off a little bit. But that's what I'm saying. You will find the thing that will finally take root for you. I never would have guessed that hiking was going to be the thing that was really my passion. But it is. Change. You're being asked to change a part of yourself that no longer feels like the person you've become or are becoming. Change isn't always easy, but letting go of this outdated part of yourself will allow you to align with your true self. What else are we looking at here? Because am I seeing that part? Oh, the only thing is like, hey, if you have been, like, if you have PTSD, if you have any form of, like, I've been told I have an anxiety disorder, I went and had this diagnosed, remember, proper management techniques can put something into an ordered category. It's just that you'll have your method. You'll have your maintenance program. And that, like, it's part of the reason when I say that I have an anxiety disorder. I don't take any meds for it. Like, every now and then, if I'm really anxious, I'll take a magnesium. But for the most part, I use behavioral techniques, and that it really isn't an anxiety disorder any longer because I get it, I understand it, and I know how to take care of it. And so it becomes a managed condition. So they do want you to, like, remember that part. You, them, blockages, advice, outcome. That's a blockage. Change, outcome. Oh, choice. Interesting. With pause. And then we want one more on this. Speak up. This is very interesting to me. One of the things that choice can mean, and I'll read the you then blockages is just a spread that's being, is sometimes recommended for, if this is a relationship read, it's not showing up in the tarot, but it is saying that one of the things that blocks you towards, meaningful relationships is an attachment energy. And two, even if you've done them a lot, they're eternal forces. It can take a while to get rid of the residual energy. It's just a fragment. Just deal with it and it'll go away. Choice, you're being asked to make a choice that you've been struggling with. It's time to decide which path you're going to take. Listen to your intuition, eliminate everyone else's input, and feel your way into the choice that is right for you. The time is now. With pause. You're being asked to pause before making a quick decision and moving forward. Allow yourself to step back, look at all the possible outcomes, and make sure you're headed in the right direction before moving forward. All of this is honest to goodness about like, hey, the choices that you make are the things that are going to, I'm going to skip the speak up one, simply because it's exactly what you might think is like, hey, voice your wants and needs, understand your own feelings, etc. In the whole responding, not reacting, which is like what we've been trying to conquer with this, is what it looks like. It lies in choice, it lies in awareness, it lies in compassion, that fire and passion, and then the love, compassion, to change yourself into somebody that you have a better and more productive relationship to your emotional world, rather than being like, I have to take really good care of this because I have these things that are disorders. It doesn't make them your enemy. You are learning how to manage them. You are learning how to live in conjunction with them. The power to have sway over that and to have a managed condition versus something that exists as a disorder is learning your method. So learn your method. Yes, I just dropped a deck in the background in case you were wondering what the thunk was. Learning the method is the thing that will allow you to release that exterior limitation. Okay? And like the whole ignore other people's input. Listen, you're not actually listening to me when I do these type of reads. I mean, it's clearly my voice, but I'm connected to the Archangel Gabriel. And I bring people, and that, by the way, is the Archangel Gabriel's card. I'm connected to the Archangel Gabriel, who brings people the information that they need. It doesn't mean you have to accept it. But what it does mean is that it's kind of, with what I do, it really is about trying to, you've been asking a question and this is your answer, and it's okay if you don't like the answer. And it doesn't make me infallible. It just means that that's the thing they're asking you to focus on, is releasing attachments, to working towards managed practices in a condition that you have had. And for some people it appears to be PTSD, for some people it appears to be PTSD, for other people it is major depressive disorder, and just judging by a couple of other things there, it appears to be like a tendency towards anxiety that is more likely to manifest as anger is a protective thing. And they just are kind of asking you to make the healthy choices around that. Let's keep going here. We got a couple more minutes. All right. Ambitious. Okay, it'll help you achieve more. I do not read the below paragraphs on this. I can hold it up if you're like tremendously interested. I don't like the wording on it. It's very, I don't know, it's a little bit condescending. and so I just kind of don't dig it as the cards. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. I love them as the energy they're trying to call attention to. Ambitious, my body, interesting. Oh, action taker, okay. With strength and food. Healthy habits lead to a healthy life. It really isn't about body shaming. It's like whatever size you inhabit, whatever body you inhabit, you are lovable and worthy of love just as you are. This is not about conforming to a societal standard. It's telling you, if your inner world struggles with things like anxiety, frustration, depression, the easiest way to take care of that is to take super good care of your body, including having an exercise regime if you can. And it does not have to be about impressing anybody. It does not have to be like, ever increasing gains. Like in order to keep reaping the benefit, I will keep having to like expand. And instead of hiking 10 miles, I'll be doing 15. That is not how it works. It is keeping your body flowing at all times to get your blood going, to allow like your heart to strengthen as well, which is one of the, if you have something in your emotional world that needs strengthening your physical body is one of the things that will help the most. How's that? Do we have anything else on this? By pile number 4, I start to, like, all of the oracle cards start blurring together, and I genuinely don't remember whether I've taken this or not. I'll know in a moment. You are caught up in drama. Act to free yourself. Change and blossom again. That's also like overblown emotions sometimes, which that is not an insult. When you're still trying to process emotions, of course they're big. You have a backlog. Live in this world as a dreamer. Create a future paradise. Visualization helps. Meditating helps. Making sure that you are doing the healthy things in the 3D for the physical body, that if you strengthen it, it helps everything else. It really, really does, because it's self-care. And it responds really well to self-care. But be careful, because all of those disorders can come with the backlash of having a relationship to OCD, which means that, like, don't overdo it. Like, more is not always more. Sometimes it's a detraction. Luck. You are right to be strong and optimistic about the opportunities ahead. And then angel. Your angels are guiding and protecting you on your spiritual journey. Things are going to get better. And they just want you to try and participate in taking care of a difficult, emotional, inner world in a way that will serve you. And then you're being asked to do some attachment removals. I like Sound Energy Alchemist. They've got some really, really good work. The Sound Healers also has some really good work. I had to move on from the one I used to recommend because unfortunately it kind of looks like the person producing it started suffering from attachments because, you know, they were doing that work all the time. And I wish them nothing but well, but those are the current purveyors of attachment removals that I am recommending. Maitreya Fields also has good ones. Let's close this out with what else do we need, pile number 4, to know. Letting go within the next few weeks. Interesting. What else do we have on within the next few weeks? Sounds like something good. Recovery. Be assertive. No need to worry. It won't take long. It won't take long for you to see results. Lean in on doing attachment removals for like a good moon cycle or so. Like I said, remember, they're attracted to things. It's kind of like how, you know, some people go out in the summer and get eaten alive by mosquitoes. It's just the energy attracts something. In that instance, it's like the heat and of blood flow and like a smell of a particular person. But in the, it's just access with spirit attachments. It really isn't about weakness. Like I said, I just explained to another pile that that's what happened to Doreen Virtue. So why she thinks everybody talks to demons is because she got a spirit attachment and didn't realize she did. And now she thinks that's all anybody ever talks to. It's like, no, there are actual, everything contains its opposite. If you're talking to angels, you have to be careful about, like, well, what's coming with that? What's the opposite of an angel? Well, it doesn't mean me well, so I better protect myself. And in all realms, particularly when we start dealing with what we want, that is an area we're very susceptible to attachments in. So just do the work to get rid of them. Just do the work to get rid of them. And when you think that you're under the influence of one, awareness is one of the things that can really help, is just being like, yeah, this is an attachment. I'm to the point where I really know when, like, I just encountered somebody else's stuff and I have to get rid of it. Because it feels very foreign to me. Anybody who does this work gets to that point as well. Pile number 4, a really interesting one, because the thing that you're being asked to release is literal attachments, and to have a process around that, and then to also develop a method around coping with your physical health to have better emotional health, and to participate in good bodily care to get a better emotional world. And you may have not made that connection yet. That, like, you might love sugar, but it's an inflammatory agent, which an inflammatory agent is going to exacerbate both depression, anxiety, and frustration. And it doesn't mean you can't ever have sugar. It's just that you have to eat, like, it can only represent, like, you know, a small percentage of your intake. It looks like you struggle with self-care because there's some resentment issues towards some of the things that view yourself as an ally in your journey. Treat your body and your mind, even the stuff that you may not like about it, as the thing that you love so much. Because love of any capacity, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendship, whether it's familial, starts with self-love, the ability to treat ourselves with love and compassion, which you got the compassion card, that you deserve. When you start treating yourself that way, you won't accept anything from anybody else anymore. Okay? Take care. Be well.